Auburn is headed to the Final Four after a 70-64 victory over the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State held an 8-6 lead at the under 16 media timeout in this game. That was their largest of the game. Auburn very quickly created separation and really never looked back. There were a couple times in the second half that things got maybe just the tiniest bit sweaty or tense, but for the most part, the better team played the better game and ended up winning the game. They were the number one overall seed for a reason. Janai Broom was sensational before his injury theatrics and then even his return from his injury theatrics. But all in all, just too many guys didn't have their A-plus stuff from Michigan State, and I think it's hard to beat the number one overall seed if that's going to be the case. What was your reaction to this performance, Cart?
Yeah, it's a tough showing. A tough showing when you're on the biggest stage against a team like Auburn. And look, with all due respect too, like I'd actually like to know your thoughts on this, G. Um, I don't think Auburn played like an A plus. Like Janai Broom was incredible, but they didn't really shoot the ball well. Baker-Mazara kind of struggled. Miles Kelly struggled. Like there was a good amount of guys that struggled for parts of this game. But they did hit timely and big time shots, I would say. And Janai Broom was just incredible. He was unstoppable in this basketball game. And, if you're going to beat a team of Auburn's caliber, who, I got to look up where they stack up historically, but someone put out a tweet about like the top 10 teams metrically on KenPom. And I believe this Auburn team is in there somewhere in the history of the database. So like they are the number one overall seed for a reason. And I think they just had a little bit too much. They just play better than us typically. And I also think the length really bothered Michigan State. Jace Richardson struggled in this game after a pretty good start. Trey Holloman had probably his worst game as a Spartan, which didn't come at a really opportune time. Jay Akins was able to get it going late, but for most of this game struggled. So like across the board, a lot of guys just struggled in this basketball game, and you can't have that type of play and also like that type of slow start against a team of Auburn's caliber. Like we got away with it against New Mexico and Bryan and those teams. You're not going to get away with that against Auburn.
Yeah, I think you're right that this was an Auburn's A-plus game. Look, they shot 28% from three, and I know opposing team three-point shooting has been a discussion point for Michigan State this year. Michigan State ends their season as the number two ranked three-point percentage defense. They are really good at guarding the three-point line. This has been a constant throughout the Tom Izzo era. So I think Auburn not shooting well from three isn't the biggest surprise. I thought they missed guarded ones. I thought they also missed some open ones. They also just take really dumb, tough shots, which we talked about in the preview. Auburn let Michigan State, I thought, hang around in a lot of ways because, like, Baker-Mazara would shoot a contested step back with 25 seconds on the shot clock, and he went 2 for 10 in this game. They also shot 55% from the free throw line. I mean, that's just pure luck, right? Like, a team shoots 55% from the free throw line. That's leaving the door wide open. So, look, it's weird because my takeaway from this game is just that Auburn is really good. And I don't think they played well. So I know it kind of sounds dumb to make that the takeaway on a night Auburn didn't play all that perfectly, but like there are levels to this. Michigan State, I think, is the fifth best team in college basketball, but the Final Four is the four best teams in college basketball this year. And those four teams are all historically really good per the analytics. Like, I believe all four of these teams grade out in the top 10 basketball teams per KenPom in the last 20 years. Like, this has been an incredibly top heavy season. And I think it's fitting that we end up with those four here. And the reality is, I think there's a gap here. Like, Michigan State could have played an A-plus performance and won this game, no doubt. But they didn't in large part because this was a really tough matchup for them. Y'all had zero answers for Broom. I give credit to Izzo and the staff for changing the game plan in the middle of the game, but whoever decided we should single cover Janai Broom with Jackson Kohler to start this game would love to know the thought process that went into that one. And then after three possessions, you figured out you couldn't do that. You sent doubles. He still finished with 25 and 14, only 29 minutes. 11 of those he spent writhing in pain and in the locker room. So I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. And then the story of this game to me by far was the other non-Jace Richardson guards. Jaden Akins
Yeah.
ended up with 15 points, almost all of them very late in this game.
Hmm.
But man, Jeremy Fears and Trey Holloman combined 1 for 14 from the floor. Jeremy Fears 0 for 2 from the free throw line. Trey Holloman himself 0 for 10. Like those two guys have been so key to this Michigan State season. And the reality in this game was they were smaller. They weren't as athletic as the Auburn guards. They couldn't get downhill. They were bothered trying to finish at the rim. Jeremy Fears was not able to get to the free throw line like he has all season. And when you basically take those two guys completely out of the game, Michigan State's just not good enough. Like you're a sum of your parts team. If two of the key parts total no show, I think you get the result that happened here.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, the real key point of this game is we were never able to bounce back from that 17-0 run
Yeah.
that Auburn had in the first half, where I haven't seen a team miss as many shots as Michigan State missed in that stretch there. Obviously finishing over Broom and Cardwell and these other guards on Auburn and the guys with length is a lot harder than you think. They have a lot of length and a lot of athleticism, and it did bother Michigan State, I think, getting downhill. It even bothered guys like Jace. Like I thought Jace in the second half was really struggling going into the hoop with guys like Broom down there and things like that. So you're gonna if you're gonna be bothered at the rim, you got to be able to knock down shots. And I mean, there was a lot of threes hit late in this basketball game that made it look like that we got to 30%. But for most of this game, there was no shots that could be hit from anywhere, whether it was guarded or unguarded. And yeah, there was like a stretch there during that 17-0 run. There was one possession where we had 7 shots and we just missed them all. And some of them were really good looks and open. And you basically can't play this way and beat a team of Auburn's caliber. It's not going to happen, whether they want to keep you in the game or not. Which I did think they kept in the game. And also, like speaking on Auburn big picture, this team can't win a title. They just do too many stupid things, I think.
Ooh, I strongly disagree with that.
Okay, I can't get there. I think they do too many dumb things to keep teams in games.
Look, I don't expect them to win the title. The betting odds are out, and they have them as like the sizable underdog here. I believe they're 5-1, and everybody else is closer. I think they're going to beat Florida, and I think we're going to get Duke Auburn, and I would strongly bet that Duke wins because Duke is just another level special. But yeah, nothing about this 4-game stretch for Auburn to me has led me to believe they like can't win a title. I think they've really stunk and they've won comfortably every game.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm out personally.
Is that just because you don't like it, or is it just
No, I literally think that they they can just keep teams in games by doing stuff their own way. Like even at the end of this game, they just keep flipping the ball for no reason. Or like Chad Baker-Mazara goes for a layup
they only
when
had
he
six
doesn't have
turnovers
to,
on the game?
or takes a three when you don't have to. It's just I think they do stupid things.
Yeah, but I think they like the chaos, and they turned this game
Chaos is
into a chaotic mess.
chaos is great when it works, but chaos can bite you in the ass against better teams.
You're right, but it usually works. And if
That's
the
true.
chaotic mess works against Michigan State, I think it's going to work against most teams in the country. I don't know. I hear you talking about flipping it. They only turned it over 6 times this game. Somehow, some way, in the middle of it feeling like chaos, they always take care of the ball.
They flip it in ways that are special, though. I actually like the way they do this. They cover up by not turning the ball over, by just making it miss early shot clock shots or bad shot selection that don't count as turnovers, but they
Yeah,
should.
their shots are turnovers. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. Look, I hear your point. I think I've been the Auburn skeptic on this channel all season long, so it's weird that I've turned into the Auburn defendant. But the point blank thing for me here is I don't know how you could look at a team with Janai Broom as long as he isn't removing himself from the game and say that that team can't win a title. He is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's different.
He's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a force to be reckoned with that we haven't seen very often in the front court. He is so strong, and I feel like that's not talked about in his game. moves people and gets in position and almost sleepwalks his way to 15 rebounds a night. In this game, if he hadn't done the whole injury thing, he would have finished with 18 rebounds at least. Um, we kind of joked about it in the Michigan recap, like there's some Angel Reese to his game where he'll just miss and get the rebound and put it right back in, but that's still unstoppable to guard. Like I don't know how anybody prevents him from doing that. And when he's hitting threes, I mean, he had 2 threes in this game. I just don't know how you guard the guy. So
Yeah.
for me, I know this is not a Final Four preview, but for me, I feel like the story this year has been Auburn or Duke fighting for which team is actually the best. The story this year has been Janai Broom or Cooper Flag fighting for National Player of the Year. I'd be pretty surprised if that's not the final. And no disrespect to Florida, but Florida also played with their food against UConn, played with their food against Texas Tech, played with their food a bunch of times in this tournament, and has hit the clutch shots to get here. To me, as Michigan State showed, I don't think you can dig a hole against Auburn and come out of it. And I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen in that matchup.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that more in the preview. I think, but yeah, Janai Broom's just an unstoppable force. This
Did you like
Auburn
the idea to single cover him? Because we kind of landed on that in the preview, saying like, yeah, maybe that's the move, but it quickly
Not
was
with
not the
Jackson
move.
Kohler, I would say is kind of how I throw that out there. That's not who I thought would get a chance to do it.
Why didn't they go Zapala? They put him back in the starting lineup. I was surprised by that. Just use the size, right?
Yeah, I just don't think Zapala was should have been out there. I mean, I get the sizes there. It would have helped if we could have kept Coop on the floor longer, but literally in the first 7 minutes he was on the floor, he turned the ball over 3 times, which led to that 17-0 run. So that kind of killed us. He was throwing the ball all over the place. But yeah, I was very intrigued. I was very confused that the idea was Jackson Kohler single cover Janai Broom with no type of not even a dig, like a true single cover, everyone stick to their man. I was a little bit confused by that one for sure.
Yeah, I'm all for the like make one guy beat you game plan. They've done it to Dickinson in the past. Was stunned they tried to employ that with Kohler. Like if you were gonna do that, just play Cooper from the jump on him, or at least do Zapala because we've talked about how Broom has struggled with 7-footers. I mean, it was like 4 possessions of that, and then they quickly got out of it. Credit to Michigan State for getting out of it, but that's a part of how I thought you dug the hole in this game and got Janai just going. He had a double double in the first half again, like what 15-11 at halftime. Insane.
Yeah, yeah. Can I be a hater for 4 seconds?
Yeah, I feel like you can hate as much as you want on this, but you're coming out of this not impressed with Auburn is my takeaway.
No, no, I'm impressed because like they won this game and they didn't play good in my opinion. Like that's why I'm impressed by it. But I I would love to be someone who can moonwalk and hook people left and right whenever they feel like it, which Janai Broom can do. He doesn't have to do it because he can score whenever he wants, but would love an extra step or meat hook every now and then. That would be quite conducive. But that's my hater portion over. This Auburn team is just gonna be tough to beat because Janai Broom is the second best player in the country, and they are all 25. Like
Yeah.
it's tough to beat, and they're good. Like I'm not even throwing out the age thing as a slight here. They are good 25-year-olds. They didn't even get good. Like Miles Kelly is really good. He did not play well in this. Like he didn't shoot the ball well. Miles Kelly's a 40% three-point shooter on high volume. I've seen him make like 7 threes in a game this year. We got lucky he missed some of the looks he had. Baker-Mazara, he makes himself shoot 2 of 8 from three, but he could be a better three-point shooter than that. And Pettiford hit some big ones, but he didn't really do like the whole Tahad Pettiford experience thing that we've seen this whole tournament. So, if they are going to leave the door slightly open, which I think Auburn didn't necessarily do because they established it with that 17-0 run, but there was some moments where they did not hit shots, but also Michigan State didn't follow it up by hitting shots either. So you never really even got through by trying to break through that 10-point lead mold, which it felt like it was the whole game. I think the closest it got was 8, I feel like, in the second half, but it never really was in doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can see that. So I remarked in our Discord how at the end of the season for your team and my team, it reminds me a lot of the previous year. It reminds me of the year where you guys made the Final Four and lost to Texas Tech. If you remember, Michigan and Michigan State were both really good that year. Michigan State swept Michigan 3 times. Michigan State made a deeper run in the tournament than Michigan did. Both made a second weekend, but ultimately both lost to the same team. It's basically this year. Now, Michigan State was better. I think that year you could argue Michigan State were about the same, but State just owned them in the rivalry. This year, Michigan State was better than Michigan,
Mhm.
but both end with a banner, both make a second weekend, both lose to Auburn as soon as they see Auburn. Michigan State with the more successful year, better team, swept the team head to head. It just reminds me the parallels are interesting. With that said, I want to ask you this because with my team's loss, obviously I thought Michigan played well, built a 9 point lead against Auburn late in that game. And the only reason I'm even like kicking myself at the end of it is like, damn, we had it. We had a
Mhm.
chance. I don't know that any Michigan State fan is looking back at this game saying, damn, we had it. But I do think you guys are looking at this game like, shit, it was there for the taking,
Mhm.
and we didn't take it.
Mhm.
Which one do you think is more frustrating at the end here? Because again, I like for me, I'm not surprised at all that Auburn stormed back. Auburn showed their A plus shit for 10 minutes and took it from me.
Mhm.
But for Michigan State, it's like, damn, Auburn didn't take it. We just kind of never took it ourselves. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating because I think when you put Auburn's how they played in this game, I think it's that conversation we had, like what is Auburn's like how good is Auburn's not ceiling or not like highest level? Like their what does their B game look like? What does their C game look like? Um it's still good enough to win games against good teams, especially if the other team's not necessarily playing well. So it is frustrating because there was that 17-0 run, which hurt. But besides that, I just thought that, Michigan State, I had a lot of guys who left a lot out there that have contributed this year, that just didn't play well. Like Akins and any other non-Jace guard, and even throw Jace into it towards the end because he really struggled in the second half. Um, the guards just could not do anything, nothing. And you combine the guards giving you nothing with, honestly, the only two people I think I would necessarily say played well is Kohler and shit, Frankie Fiddler.
Yeah, I want to talk about Fiddler. He's on my list to get to at the end of this, but he went out with a performance he should be very proud of.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What do you attribute the guard struggles to? Because I'm glad you made the point with Jace. Like Jace was really good in the first half, keeping you in it. Jace finished the game 4 for 13. Jaden Akins actually finished the game 6 for 17. Now I know a lot of Aiken stuff came when it was over, but like just box score watching, Aikens probably outperformed Jace, and then you just had Fears and Holloman be complete liabilities in this one.
Right.
What do you attribute the struggles of the four collective guards to?
I think just limitations to their game. Well, for Trey, I mean, he was just he had a three that like hit the other side of the backboard. I don't know if he was a little bit rattled by the moment or something like that, or he just had an awful day. But he just was. 0 for 10 from the field in 21 minutes, 2 turnovers to 2 assists. He just was not good. I don't know what other way to put it. But I don't know. I think you saw some limitations of these guards up against maybe more athletic, you know, uh, longer guards or something like that. I just thought that they really struggled with the length, they struggled with the finishing. And if you're going to struggle with finishing, I think you need to be able to knock down some shots, right? Because if you're not getting anything at the rim, you got to at least be able to hit a three or hit a jumper here. And we know where Fear stands on that. And then you at least expect Holloman to hit a few here or there, and he hit zero. So it's just a tough thing tough to win a game when you're getting that. Like you said, those guys combined were 1 for 14 from the field.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of what we said. Remember the moment in the preview where we were going through it and we were like, okay, advantage Broom, terror. What do you do with that? And then who's got the better backcourt? We were like Auburn. And then we were like, okay, let's make predictions. And I'm like, wait a second. We just said Auburn has the better guards, and in the front court, there's no answer for Broom. So how the hell do you add this up to a Michigan State win? And then we both just like picked a Michigan State win. Um, I think the reality is just Auburn has better, bigger, more athletic guards. And
Yeah,
this is a Michigan State team that has won all season long because of their guards. And this was a really tough matchup, not just because of Broom, but because you look at Fears and you look at Holloman. I'm going to be critical of them for a moment. It's things you've heard me say a lot this year, but like so much of what they do has nothing to do with their on-court skill sets. Fears' game is predicated on getting under the skin of people and getting to the free throw line. With the way this game was called, he wasn't getting to the free throw line. So what is he out there to do then? I thought he was clueless. And then you go to Holloman, who, again, he can obviously light it up. He's had clutch shots. He's a good shooter, great defender, all of that. We know this. But a lot of what he does is just stir the pot, be this competitive, chippy guy. And I just don't think that mattered in this game. There was no world where he was like going to get under the skin of Tahad Pettiford. And instead, I thought you saw this manifest itself of like, okay, Trey and Jeremy, you have to win this game with basketball skill. They didn't really have enough to do that against better guards. And I don't know what that says. Because again, Michigan State won 30 games this year, won an outright Big Ten title, made an Elite Eight because of their guards. Their guards are clearly good enough. But in this specific matchup with like a Final Four on the line, they just weren't. And
yeah.
I don't know what the move is because you think forward, Jace has a decision to make. I have body language PhD thoughts on that if you want them, but
Depends if they're good or bad.
Jace has a decision to make. The consensus is he's gone. I
Mhm.
think he's coming back, and
Mm,
we'll talk more about this in other videos. But for the sake of this argument, let's just assume Jace does the logical thing and leaves.
mhm,
Akins is out of eligibility. Backcourt's Fears and Holloman.
mhm,
Based on how this game went, be pretty terrified of that.
mhm.
And I haven't really thought about that much until this moment. But like this whole thing worked really well because Jace showed up as this mega alpha out of nowhere. And if you don't have the guy that actually has the basketball skill to mega alpha to allow Fears and Holloman to do their little Fears and Holloman things, like you kind of got to find that next year if Jace is gone, right? Unless Jordan Scott's coming in and going to be that or Cam Ward, but
Mhm.
seems like maybe something to look for in the portal potentially.
Yeah, I definitely think they need to do that, and I think Izzo kind of put it pretty well in the post game when he said that he got the most he could have out of this team. Like I think he got the most he could have out of these guys. And they ran into a team I think that had a little bit more. And for the folks that like are have been the whole like this is why you don't use the or Izzo's so great, which I agree, and he did send a message this year that you don't need to use the portal. This is it's moments like this where you can use a portal guy to get you over the hump when you need somebody, right? Like you need somebody to replace Jace. You can go out and try to find a guy to do that, or whichever way you approach that. I just think that, um, obviously Trey and Fears a lot of it is predicated on fears improving a little bit too, as well. Like I actually have faith that Trey will get better. I think he's shown that he can get better through his career. I think he's gotten better, whether it be even minimally or just whatever you want to look at exponentially, throughout his time in Michigan State. And I would feel good betting on that guy improves in some space. But even if he does not, because you can't just bet on guys improving. That's not how college basketball works. I do think that there needs to be an emphasis on getting somebody that is Jace-esque. Maybe not like a lottery pick like Jace or like a as good as Jace, but somebody in that role that can take something off of maybe leaning on Fears or Holloman as much as you need to lean on them.
Now, if Jace comes back, it's all a moot point.
Yeah.
because you have exactly what you need. But yeah, I did. This was just like the wake up call for me of like, oh, I actually would not be super comfortable with Fierce and Holloman as the 35-minute backcourt next year. Like,
Yeah.
love those
So I,
guys.
I
But
I hear you with the fears thing, but is there not a portion of you with Holloman that I know he just had like an all-time stinker, but like this is also a guy that has had good games. Like you got more faith in Holloman than fears, right?
for sure. But I think this was the wake up call to me that so much of Holloman's good moments this year have come off of others. Like Holloman, I think every game this season, Holloman has probably been the fourth or fifth name on the scout.
Mm,
There's never been a game where an opposing defense has been worried about taking away Trey Holloman. It's been let's focus on Jace and then Akins and then probably Fears and then Holloman's kind of the catch and shoot fifth guy.
mm,
Next year, like in theory, if the team is Fears, Holloman, freshman wing, I don't know who in the front, Kohler and Cooper, Carr, something like it's going to be Holloman is option one on the scout. And I'm not saying he was option one on the scout in this game, but it sort of felt that way just because he was actually going up against a great athletic defender that was in his shit.
mm,
And I think more nights than not next year, you're going to have that every single night. Look, Holloman can play better than this. He missed like 3 open threes. He's capable of hitting those. But to me, the larger thing was I thought these guys got nothing going to the rim. I thought when they were getting downhill to the rim, they were terrified to even attempt shots at the rim. Jay said at halftime, I mean, you saw me clip it. He basically was like, yeah, I thought we came out a little scared. Izzo told us we were scared. We got to fix that. Didn't fix that. I
mm,
thought the entire team, at least in the backcourt, played terrified. Jackson Kohler did not play scared. And look, that's not meant as disrespect. Auburn is terrifying. Auburn made my team terrified. Auburn makes everybody they play terrified. But again, we spent 30 minutes in the preview on the emotional side of this game for a reason. And emotionally, I thought Auburn won this game because Michigan State was just not mentally up for the challenge of this. And that manifested itself into an 0 for 10 night from the guy that embodies toughness from Michigan State. I don't know what you do. And again, maybe if Fears had gotten to the free throw line more, maybe it paced you a little more. But like, man, between those two, it was just some of the emptiest minutes I've seen from a backcourt this year.
yeah, at the worst time.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see. Questions for a later date. But uh permission to say the jig is up, though.
Nah, the jig will be back.
The jig is up.
It's not return of the jig.
The jig is up.
It's not up.
Jigga bad. Jigga fraud. Jiggathon. Jig is up.
Yeah, he did play bad. Play
Feel
bad.
bad for him. I do.
No, you don't.
The emotions in the locker room are hard to see from anyone. I have a lot of respect for Trey Holloman.
Did a tiny portion of you enjoy this performance from Michigan State? Now that it's over,
No, nothing about this.
nothing.
I loved my Spartans this year.
Yeah, it's tough. Really, really tough. Just I'm so stuck between like, God damn, we played terrible, but also like, God damn, it's just Auburn.
I think it's just Auburn. I really do.
All right,
I think
probably
they're really
is.
good. Yeah, I think they're really good. Okay, other quick hitters. Zapala played more minutes than Cooper. Why?
I think legit because Coop was throwing the ball to the other team.
So Cooper like lost trust in the middle of the game and Izzo just went to somebody else.
I think so. That's the only thing I can equate it to.
Yeah, it's tough. I thought they needed Coop defensively, and to only play him 13 minutes was not great.
Yeah, not something I don't think. I mean, also this points to another thing. Like we need to go get an actual starting center.
Yeah, true.
Like
Okay.
I like Coop has had whatever moments he has, but like he's not a Big Ten starting center. At least on a like I get it. Like it's tough saying that after we just had Zapala be our starting center for a whole year and won 30 games. But like it'd be nice if we had a legit starting center on this
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Coop's
And,
basically the
and
perfect backup center, but next year
yeah,
he might need to become the
and like pair him next to
starter.
Kohler. Like you got something there. Like Kohler was good in this game. Like you're talking about guys that if we would have equated guys of finishing struggling over length in this game, it might have been Kohler. Like Kohler was taking it to Broom for a good portion of this game.
Yeah, can somebody explain Jackson Kohler to me? Because this should have been the
I got it.
disaster matchup.
I got it for you. Okay, so this is what everyone thinks is the worst thing for Jackson. They think it's length and they think it's athletic guys. It sometimes is on the defensive end, but he's able to get to where he wants one-on-one typically because of footwork. Where he struggles is if he sees anything other than just a guy checking me in the post one-on-one. Like if there's digs,
Oh,
if there's
reads.
doubles. Yeah, like I equate it to this. Like people always think that double in the post is because that guy is so good in the post or that guy is such a weapon. And that is the case sometimes with guys like Janai Broom, but with Jackson Kohler, it's that he can't handle it. He doesn't know how to. He's not big enough to see over it. I don't think he processes it fast enough to figure out where he wants to go. And when he sees guys digging down, it's too much like thinking instead of like, okay, it's one on one. It's like post drills. It's that guy guarding you, and all you got to do is just try to make a move and go score. He can do that pretty well because he's got a nice like post bag. It's just like when you have other guys kind of digging down on him and things like that, which, is going to happen when you play non-shooters around him too.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. And Auburn was just like, yeah, let's play straight up. Who cares? And
Yeah.
Kohler's
If
fine.
Jackson
He
Kohler
struggles
gets
with
us, then
reads.
we'll live with that.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, impressive, awesome performance from Kohler. It feels like a lot of his awesome moments come in games where I'm like, it can't be a Kohler game. So I tip my cap
Right.
to him. Speaking of tipping my cap, I've made a lot of jokes at his expense all season long. He is done as a Michigan State Spartan. And I want to give a bunch of genuine praise to Frankie Fiddler, foul baiter himself, as I've called him. I thought he was one of the only guys on this team that just went out and aggressively hooped. And I thought this was one of the first times all season I've seen him do that. I don't know. I don't know why that flipped against a team as terrifying as Auburn, where he wasn't focused on like falling down and was instead focused on finishing. But man, he was great. He was 2 for 4 from the floor. He did get to the free throw line 4 times, hit all 4 of them. He had 5 rebounds that in 14 minutes, he had more rebounds than Jace and Jaden Akins and Jeremy Fears and Shimon Zapala. Like he was up for the challenge in this game. I don't think this was the year anybody wanted from Fiddler, not the year we expected, but he has done enough late here in this NCAA tournament run that I think he will be remembered really fondly as a Michigan State Spartan. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was a good performance. And look, Frankie probably signed up for something different, and it just didn't work out at Michigan State like I thought it would. And he was still a major part of this team and contributed where he could and foul baited when he could. And though it wasn't like the greatest thing, and I didn't always enjoy watching him hoop, um, this was a moment that I'll just be like, I think he ain't go out like no hoe. So I respect that.
Yeah. Yep, me too. Which I never expected to say, but Frankie, you have earned my respect, my friend. Great performance. Um, Couple quick Auburn questions. Number one, I don't feel like we've praised them enough, and I know some Auburn fans have found this channel and been clowning on us the last couple weeks. I feel like I'm trying to praise them enough. I expect this team to make the national title. I don't think they played their A game, but their B or C game is still terrifying. Janai Broom is a monster. The guards are masters. Like if your backcourt doesn't shoot well and still infinitely outplays the Michigan State backcourt, you probably got the best backcourt in the country. That's how I feel about this Auburn group of guards right now. And obviously Walter Clayton's a different test, but coming off of this, like, can you just give 30 seconds of praise to Auburn? Because I feel like we haven't done enough there yet.
Oh, 1,000%. You have the second best player in the sport in Janai Broom, and that second best player behind Cooper Flagg, who's Cooper Flagg. So like you had that in your holster. Bruce Pearl is one of the best coaches in college basketball. You have a bunch of guards and wings that shoot 40% from three. And then off the bench, you got just like these do-it-all guys like Chaney Johnson and one of the most electric freshman guards in the country, and Tahad Pettifer, who can go out and win you a game at any time. And then on top of all this, everyone on this team can rent a car without parental signatures. All right. Like this team is all 24-year-olds who are well coached and good at basketball. It's like the perfect formula to get it done. They would literally legitimately be my pick to win it all. And I'm not saying like anything crazy like that because they do have a chance to win it all. And I know I said something earlier, but the premise of that is that I still think the voices inside their own heads can lead to this team's downfall, and I think they will. But this team is balanced. This team has star power. This team has like, you know, they have experience given their age, and they have one of the best coaches in the sport. And they also won the best league in the country over a large sample size. Like they won the SEC regular season for a reason.
Yeah, I think it's controlled chaos. That's what I think it is. They like chaotic nonsense. Every game is a performance. I tweeted that Auburn's a very performative basketball team, and I thought in a lot of ways this was their masterpiece. I mean, they are showmen as much as they are basketball players, and it's entertaining at the very least. It's really impossible to stop, and you've got to. I think bare minimum, you've got to be as good as Auburn to beat them.
Mhm.
And there aren't many that are. I guess the question is Florida, Duke, or Houston? We'll find out. But man, if they're going up against a team that just doesn't have the talent answers, they can do whatever they want and dick around and put on a show, and it's still going to be enough. Bruce Pearl constantly doubling and tripling and reiterating that this team was the underdog. That got under my skin. I understand it's a motivational tactic, but come on. They're the number
Mhm.
one overall seed. Ken Pom had them as the number one team in the sport for like 4 months. You want Janai Broom to be the National Player of the Year. You're saying he's the best player. You can't do all that and also be whining that you're the underdog. Was that just a motivational tactic? And what did you think of that?
So I think it is, but also I had to go back to our early Auburn talk, and what made us love Auburn so much is that they did carry themselves like that even when they are the number one seed. Like there is a bit of a factor of like these guys have this chip on their shoulder, even if they are the best team in the sport, which I think makes them great. So like I will allow it, but if it gets to the point where it's going towards if it shifts from like underdog to everyone doubted us, then I'm out. That's where I cut it off.
I think it just speaks to the level of delusion that everyone involved in this Auburn team is operating with.
Call God.
It's just they are genuinely insane. I think
Yeah.
they genuinely believe they are the underdog. They're not. They're the best team here. So like I guess you give credit to them for somehow channeling that and using it as fuel. But every time Pearl was standing next to Izzo talking about, well, they're the favorite, I just wanted to like reach through the screen and slap him. Like, come on, this is nonsensical here. Um, Anyways, last note. So Janai Broom goes down. It looks awful. I'm not going to act like that wasn't an injury because I don't know how you could watch the replay and think that he was just perfectly fine. But looked like he had both something going on with the arm, something going on with the leg at the same time. He's on the ground. He doesn't get up. They pause the game. He walks off. The camera catches him mouthing, "I'm done." Just looking totally dejected. "I'm done. I'm done." He gets taken to the locker room. Auburn had, I think, a 7 or 8 or 9 point lead at that point, and there was still 9 minutes left in this game. I'm thinking, wow, the door is wide open. Now, Michigan State never cut into it. It really never, even for a second, went from a 9 point game to like a 6 point game or anything.
Hmm.
But he was gone for about 4 or 5 minutes. He comes back. He immediately just bypasses everyone and says, "I'm going in the game." And check back in, got a rebound, hit a three. What do you make of that entire sequence?
Trying to close the gap on the National Player of the Year race. Try to have no, I don't know. I didn't think he had to come back in, to be honest with you. That was the one point about it. Like I thought the team was fine, but he wanted to come back in. He comes back in, he hits a three. He also came back in and missed like two free throws too that kept people in the game. But I don't know. Honestly, I'm just glad he's all right because that shit looked bad. Like he was holding his elbow. I was like, dog, is his knee and ankle all right? Because that didn't look right.
Yeah, it looked terrible. It looked terrible. And then it pretty clearly wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
So call God, thank you, God. Like that's great.
No, gee, let me dip my head in here. Because I've I've embellished injuries before. Like there's a factor of this. What did you say? This team is performative?
Every Auburn game feels like a performance in both
Well,
good and bad ways.
yeah, well, this is you're a Hamilton guy, right? This is when Hamilton lost his vocal cords for a second, but he didn't actually his throat was just sore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've
I'm
also
not
never
gonna.
seen Hamilton.
I don't think we should sit here and accuse anything because the kid is obviously tough. He has played through legitimately awful injuries all season. And you even speculated, we both speculated coming into games this week that he's not 100% healthy. And if he's playing like this, not at 100%, I mean, he's an all-time warrior type player. But that the Paul Pierce theatrics here of I'm dead, I'm done, to 3 minutes later I'm back in the game was something. I'm happy he was back because I want to see this Auburn team at full strength, and that requires Janai Broom on the court. But I just don't. I don't feel like this is going to be the last time we see an injury scare. He might have two more games, and I would bet we see two more injury scares with Janai Broom right now. There's just something theatrical about the way this whole team operates, and it's part of playing Auburn. I think you almost got to come into the game knowing on the scout like there's going to be theatrical stuff here with the crowd getting involved and just all of it. It's an experience with Auburn that goes far beyond playing basketball.
I love like the whole at the center court, like rubbing his elbow, like I can't lift my right arm, and then right when Auburn makes a free throw, he was doing like the "Hey you" or thing, whatever they do. Just like I respect it. It's just like the theatrics of it are crazy.
It's showmanship. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. So, all right. Congratulations to Auburn. Last question from me. We'll have more time to reflect on this in the coming weeks. How will you remember this Michigan State season?
Oh, very fondly. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Love the players on the team. And yeah, I'll remember it as a fun time where we won the Big Ten regular season by 3 games. A lot of moments too, like the half court shot, the beating Michigan twice, like a good amount of moments I think this season that I'll remember finally as well. And then yeah, the making this Elite Eight run was fun and hopefully they can build off it. And I'm just hoping that this is like the year we look at too as like a program that was a little bit dead-ish these past couple years now like can carry this momentum into like establishing that we are at a certain level of a program for the next couple years.
Tom Izzo said this team restored his faith in humanity. This team
Me,
restored
shit, me too.
this team restored my faith in Tom Izzo. And I understand that I look stupid. If you held all of your faith, if you never wavered once in believing that Tom Izzo could thrive in this era, credit to you for being smarter than me. But this team was special. This team was all time memorable, fun to watch. Everyone that says Izzo squeezed everything he could out of this team is right. It's one of his best coaching jobs, an all time likable group. And it's a reminder that March is a fickle beast. Say it all the time. A lot of teams that deserve special ends to their season go out without special ends to their season. And this one was somewhere in the middle because an Elite Eight run is certainly a good accomplishment. It's not what Michigan State measures themselves by, and that'll sting. But maybe this is the team that reminded people that is what we measure ourselves by, right? This is
Yep.
not a Sweet 16 ain't a good season at Michigan State. This is Michigan State we're talking about. And
Right.
this group of players should be really proud of everything they did. Tom Izzo should get a bunch of flowers, and we'll continue giving them to him. So good job, Michigan State. Thank you to the Michigan State fans that have supported us this season. I think we did more hours covering this team than any other team on the channel this year, largely because they deserved it, and largely because even I really liked talking about this team. So we'll have more about this team in the summer and in next season, of course, but a genuine thank you to Spartan Nation for interacting with us all season long. We appreciate it. And the off season is here. We'll see where it takes us.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.